Oh, okay.
Get out of that dungeon, Michael.
Well, let's get ready to start. It's almost 7 o'clock. Phil, let me know when it is 7. I got 6:59.
Yep.
It'll be a great program.
7 o'clock.
All right, thank you. And hello, everybody. We thank you for joining us. And to give you our official opening and welcome, the president of the Detroit chapter of the Coalition of Black Trade Unionists, CBTU Detroit, Frank Woods.
Welcome, everyone. Glad everybody could join us tonight for our second PAW, Political Action Workshop. If we approve, it's going to be an exciting night. We have a powerhouse lined up. We only got one that we need, but we're going to have two tonight. We're going to have Hester Wheeler and Jocelyn Benson be joining us. Unfortunately, the AG couldn't join us because of the militia. We got to make sure we protect our governor and make sure all the state legislators and senators, everybody are safe, even the ones that support those guys. We got to make sure they're safe, unfortunately. But that's just the way it works. So I'm not going to say anything. I'm not going to hold it up. Just going to get going. Michael, back to you.
Well, thank you, my brother. And again, we thank all of you who are watching this program. And as Frank said, we are very concerned about what happened. Michigan is the focal point of the world right now, that the world is looking at democracy and how it's having a violent attack upon it. We hope that people will talk about this kind of violence or attempted violence as they do about the violence that's been in the street. Those of you who are probably watching this on YouTube, it did not just happen. We are talking about this in live and real time, but it is something unfortunately happened on October 8th. So with that, we want to introduce our guest today, a man who really needs no introduction to CBTU.
But go ahead, go right ahead, take your time.
As I said, we were talking before we went on the air, I said he's a bad man.
Yeah, keep going.
Bottom of my heart. He is the former NAACP secretary here in Detroit. He has also done so many jobs, but currently he is the Assistant Secretary of State for the state of Michigan, a great civil rights fighter, a great husband, a great father, and my friend and a friend of CBTU, our guest today, Mr. Hester Wheeler. Welcome, Hester.
Thank you, Mr. Michael Joseph. What a pleasure to be here. Happy to be here. Good things are happening, sir.
Yes, sir. And we're going to get right into it because our audience has some great questions we want to share them with you to let everybody know. Again, with the turmoil that happened in Michigan today, the Secretary of State, Jocelyn Benson, will be joining us, but we're going to go ahead and start. So the first thing I want to ask you, Assistant Secretary, Mr. Wheeler, is that who can get AV ballots? That's a big question, and people want to go. They don't want to walk into the polls. Who is eligible to get those ballots?
Yeah, let me say a couple of things too, Michael Joseph. First of all, there's a concept called divine providence, and I'm a beneficiary of that right now. I actually started this morning with none other than Mr. Oh man, I'm drawing a blank. The head of CBTU for years. He and I were on a national call. He's probably in his 80s now.
Oh, Bill Lucy.
Bill Lucy and I were on a call together at 8 a.m. and that is a bad brother. He set the tone. He laid it out. He talked about his lifelong commitment to advocacy. And one of the things he said emphatically is that you don't have power if you don't use it. Okay. And he talked about his commitment. So I'm pleased to end the day talking with CBTU. So I'm happy to be here. So many good things are happening across our state. 2.6 million absentee applications have been received. 2 million plus ballots have already been mailed. That represents a 350% increase over 2016. We are seeing an energy that we could never have anticipated. And I know that you know, Brother Joseph and Frank Woods and all of you at CBTU, because you helped usher in proposals 2 and proposal 3 in November of 2018, which allows for new voting rights here in Michigan. The fact is, Michigan has an opportunity to go from worst to first. No excuse absentee balloting, same day voter registration, automatic voter registration are all the benefits of our new voting rights. No excuse absentee balloting allows for all of us, anybody, to get an absentee ballot. You don't have to be out of town. You don't have to be ill or infirm. So everybody in the state of Michigan is eligible for an absentee ballot. And I don't know if I need to qualify or show the distinction, but there's been a lot of debate about what a mail-in ballot versus an absentee ballot. If we were a mail-in state like Oregon or Utah or Colorado, there would be no polling places. There would be no reason to make application for a ballot. But the fact that we are a no excuse absentee ballot, that allows for people to start voting. In fact, the election season, as you all know, has already begun. September 24 by state law is 40 days before election day. So the election season actually started on September 24th. That's why you have satellite offices. That's why you are hearing more and more about ballot drop boxes. So everybody in Michigan is eligible for an absentee ballot.
Well, let me ask you, Hester, because Detroit, unfortunately, traditionally has had problems. And this past primary, we had a lot of problems. For a long time before the results were counted. Has that been rectified? Can it happen again?
I'm encouraged. As you probably know, our office, the Secretary of State's office, is working in partnership with the Detroit City Clerk. In fact, we're actually working in partnership with quite a few clerks. There's some 1,500 clerks across the state of Michigan, but we are having regular conversations and engagements with the Detroit City Clerk and all of the folk down at the City of Detroit. And I see our secretary signing on right now. So I'm going to pause in a second. But I am encouraged. In fact, Daniel Baxter and I, you know, Baxter was a long time.
Yes, great guy. Mr. Daniel Baxter, he works with the county exec Warren Evans now.
That's correct. But he's currently on loan back to the city clerk's office, and he's a
wise decision.
He told me this afternoon that some 124,000 ballots have been mailed out by the Detroit City Clerk's office, and some 24,000 ballots have already been returned. We're encouraged. The fact that training has been taken to a higher level. A lot of new machinery is in place, and just a ton of people signing up. Labor, community leaders, community activists, community advocates, church organizations. They've all signed up to be election workers. And look at here, we have been joined. She hates for me to tell the whole story, but let me just tell you something that moves my heart. She ain't no ordinary Secretary of State. She's got some big ideals and a ton of energy. And Jocelyn, I'm not sure if you know, but I've actually joined what we call the Walking Brotherhood. We actually, every morning at 6:30, we walk 4 miles. And I've been determined to do that specifically because Jocelyn runs 3 miles every day.
6. Don't shortchange me, Hester. I run 6 miles a day.
Okay. Well,
get it right now.
The reason I picked 4 miles is because I just want to be able to keep up with her energy. But I do applaud her. And I have to just tell this one thing, which is a reflection of who she really is. At her own expense, without fanfare, she flew to Alabama, and she was actually standing on the foot of the Edmund Pettus Bridge at the moment Congressman John Lewis took his final salute across that bridge. So let me stop right there and just reintroduce to all of you our Secretary of State, Jocelyn Benson. Glad to have you.
Thank you, Hester. And you all see why and my first call when I became Secretary of State, actually before I think I was sworn in, I was to Hester Wheeler and say, you're coming with me. We're doing this together. And Hester, I'm just so grateful for your partnership. So it's really, it's all the more meaningful right now. And we're on the precipice of this historic election with so much happening, at the highest level to try to silence voices and ensure that democracy doesn't go forward. And that's not going to happen on my watch. And I know it's not going to happen on Hester's either. So proud to be here with you tonight. I'm sorry on behalf of the Attorney General, she couldn't join us as well, obviously with today's announcement, which was a long time coming. But certainly, as someone who is tracking this for several weeks now, it's still overwhelming when you hear it and when the announcement is made and all of that. So so a somber day, but also a day to be resolute and grateful for the federal law enforcement who thwarted the plot, and to focus on the work ahead, which I know the governor wants us to do, and the attorney general is focused on as well, which is protecting the vote for 2020. I mean, make no mistake, the threat and the assessment detailed today was directly related to trying to influence the election in 2020 in November.
And thank you for joining us, and we truly appreciate it. We know it's a busy day for you, and we go way back, so I'm glad to have you on the program. I want to let you know that we are good to see you, my friend. Also on the program with us is our president, Frank Wood. He's joined us on the call, so we're going to get right back into it. We had just started talking about the different our first question was about who can get an absentee ballot and how's that go through, but I want to get into a little more the perception that a lot of Americans have that the mailing system is not secure, and they're afraid to mail their ballots. And you've had problems in the past with the new Postmaster General. Have you mended those problems? And are you working with him, your counterparts, or are you working just with the people here in Michigan in terms of the mailing? Is mailing your ballot safe?
Yes, it is. But notably, every choice you have to vote this year, we're working to make safe and secure. We are encouraging, if you do choose to mail your ballot back to your clerk, to do so in the next few weeks, no later than October 19th, because we want to make sure it reaches your clerk by 8 p.m. on election day. And of course, we also have other options for you to return your ballot. You can, if you vote from home, mail your ballot back, but also drop it off at your local drop box, or just return it or drop it off at your local clerk's office. For both of those options, as long as it's in that drop box or received by your clerk by 8 p.m. on election day, your ballot and your vote will count.
Now, that's been a problem of the spoiling of the ballots. We have a question from Dana, who's one of our officers in our region. And he's also the president of the CBTU chapter in Canton. And he had a question about how are ballots spoiled. I know a lot of people don't realize you must use a blue or black pen, but how are some other ways our ballot can be spoiled?
Well, one of the most frequent ways is if you're voting from home, you put your ballot in an envelope and then you seal it. You need to sign the back of that envelope with a signature that matches the signature on your driver's license or the signature you provided when you're registered to vote, because that's how we confirm your identity once the ballot gets back to the clerk's office. And that security protocol is critical. Clerks are required to contact voters if there is a signature that doesn't match, or if a ballot is missing a signature. But oftentimes when you look at ballot rejection rates, it's often because of that signature missing. We hope to mitigate that this year by telling everyone ahead of time, sign your ballot envelope carefully. And then the other thing to look out for also is to make sure you don't overvote. Sometimes someone will, let's say, start to fill out a circle, change their mind, cross it out, and then fill out another circle. The computer reads that as voting twice in the same category and won't count your vote in that category if that happens. So be sure you read the directions carefully, as you mentioned. If it says vote for no more than two, vote for no more than two. If it says vote for one, vote for one. And if you make a mistake on your ballot, you can get a new one. You can simply destroy it or turn it. You can sort of rip it up and throw it away, or you can turn it into your clerk and get a new one. The same way you got your first one. The state will only accept one ballot from you, and that will be noted in the qualified voter file once it's returned. But you should feel comfortable with your freedom to spoil a ballot if you make a mistake or want to change your vote, and your local clerk's office can specifically assist you with that if you're in that situation.
So let me ask you, because there are a lot of problems in the Michigan primary. What did you learn? We had about over 10,000 ballots that we were able to count. We had signature issues, late postmarks. What can we do to avoid that? And how do we know? We just got a question from Tanya Ray. How do we know that our ballots are secure once we put them into a drop box?
Great question. So first, yes, you're right. There were 10,694 ballots in the August primary that were mailed in or dropped off and voted early and couldn't be counted. The vast majority of those were sent back through the mail, about 6,400 of them, and they arrived after Election Day. Now, there's currently litigation that may ultimately result in ballots arriving after Election Day, but sent prior to being counted. But we don't want anyone to be in that situation. We want everyone to get their ballots in their clerk's office by 8 p.m. on election day. And so that's why we're telling everyone, don't wait to the last minute. If it's beyond October 19th, drop your ballot off at your local drop box or at your clerk's office. And you can get a location of both of those things at michigan.gov/vote. Now, with regards to the security of our local drop boxes, the vast majority, if not all of them, have video surveillance. Ballots are picked up at the end of every day, so no ballots stay overnight. Those boxes are locked and secured throughout, and many are in police precincts or fire stations or city government buildings that are constantly monitored, both with video surveillance and law enforcement protecting the perimeter. So the drop boxes are secure, and we also, again, track ballots once taken out of there to be able to confirm that they've been received, and you can confirm the receipt of your ballot once you drop it off in your drop box at michigan.gov/vote.
I think Frank Woods wanted to ask you about a drop box. Frank?
Why would you bring that up, Michael? Will there, because there's so much discussion about drop boxes, and I heard today that one was destroyed in the city, will you be opening additional drop boxes? And what is the criteria for where you'd have the drop boxes at? Because I'm a UAW rep I'm an international rep handling the GOTV in the city of Detroit and throughout the state. And I would love to have one at the vote center where I work at, because it's a hub in the neighborhood. And people always come by there want to know about voting and things of that nature. So what is the likelihood that additional drop boxes to be put in the city?
Well, I am checking right now about this question of was a drop box destroyed in Detroit today. Okay. I have not heard that, but I just texted our director of elections. I don't know, Hester, if you heard anything about that.
I had not heard, but I've got a call tonight, so I'll look into it.
Great.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, through Hester and our local leaders, as well as our Bureau of Elections, we are in near constant communication with the Detroit City Clerk and her team, and we'll certainly, hunt down any one who has broken the law by interfering with election material and hold them accountable. That said, the drop boxes and their locations are selected by local clerks. It is not too late to put a drop box in place if you'd like. The state ordered theirs through Home Depot. I would recommend, and Hester and I can pass along the request, but we get that to the local clerk because it would be the Detroit City Clerk who would ultimately approve the placement of the drop box and the security of it. So we're happy to look into that. And do note that there's about 35 drop boxes all around the city. Most of them are next to one of the 21 satellite clerk's offices that were opened in the city as of this week. But we are very, mindful. We have not received any reports of a destroyed drop box. So if you could get us any of that information, that'd be helpful so we can investigate it. But that said, and Hester, you can find out about it tonight.
I will.
But that said, we'll also consider, or ask the clerk to consider additional locations as well.
Okay, Secretary Benson, approximately how many boxes are around the entire state? Because we have members right now who are watching from Lansing, from Pontiac.
Over 1,000 drop boxes are in place in every community in the state. And you can go to michigan.gov/vote and enter your personal voter information. And what will pop up is a list of all the drop boxes that are in your local community that you can use. You can only drop your ballot in the drop box that's affiliated with your community. And also you can get your address of your clerk's office there, which is another place where you can drop off your ballot.
Yeah, let's switch to this topic of voter suppression. And you and Hester know about this well. You and your background as an attorney and fighting for this for many, many years. Of course, Mr. Wheeler has been on the forefront of civil rights and all kinds of issues. But for example, those two men who were just recently arrested, I believe it was Jacob Wall and Jack Burke. And what they were doing, they were putting the robocalls to people, putting out false information. And I am sure they're not the only ones. What are some of the steps you're taking to prevent that kind of suppression and voter intimidation, whether the phone call or at the polls?
Well, a couple of things. One, we want voters, if they see something, say something, report it to us. That's how my office found out about this robocall to begin with. We were sent by a voter who received it, a copy of it, and we were able to swiftly investigate and come to a conclusion of who is behind it allegedly, and that's what the Attorney General is pursuing. But in addition to that, we ask voters, if you see something, say something. Send it to us via email at misinformation@michigan.gov or call 866-R-VOTE, OURVOTE, 866-R-VOTE, and report it. That phone number is a hotline for the Lawyers Committee for Civil Rights under Law and a national nonpartisan voter protection effort that, among other organizations, the NAACP is a partner with. So that will get to us as well. And it's important that you let us know so that we can respond and protect every voter. And there's lots of stuff flying around from pre-election day, all the challenges with robocalls and text messages saying you've been purged from the rolls when that's not the case, to on election day itself, when we have to protect our voters voting in person from poll watchers who may seek to intimidate or otherwise challenge and harass our voters. Our Attorney General is on top of everything alongside of us. We're going to have a team of folks throughout the city and throughout the state available to rapidly respond to any issues that we hear of. Hester will be one of the leaders of that team, and we'll be ready to go to respond and inject anyone and arrest anyone who is interfering intentionally with anyone's right to vote.
I want to ask you and Hester this. So, Secretary, I've heard you talk about this, that you don't want misinformation to get out on election day. The polls are closed, and you don't want to have the wrong person announced, or we have these texts going out. Tell us a little more about your program, what you and Hester are doing.
Well, sure. We want to make sure that the results of the elections, as announced, are an accurate reflection of the will of the people. And so we're going to have this statewide field effort in place that, among other things, will visit every precinct in Detroit and monitor the precincts in Detroit throughout the day, as well as in many other neighborhoods throughout the state that we consider potential hotspots for misinformation or for voter suppression. And we're working, again, hand in hand with the Attorney General to ensure where things do occur, she swiftly follows up on any allegations of misinformation or voter suppression and holds people accountable for any violations that occur.
And let me add two things. You may have heard our secretary articulate the need for all of us to manage expectations. It might be Friday, November 6th, before we actually announce final results or be close to final results, because of the anticipated energy around voting in this season. Don't expect the election results at 8 p.m. I think that's especially important. And then you all have to accept the responsibility that you are, in fact, trusted messengers. Don't repeat or repost everything you see, because there is a ton of misinformation. In fact, I don't even respond to text messages that I don't know the source. And people say, "Hi, I'm Kamala Harris." I don't believe it because it hasn't been substantiated. So there's a lot of misinformation out there, and all of you have to be trusted messengers. And let's talk about this being election season. It's not just about one election day.
Well, Hester, to your point, what is the responsibility of us as voters? We're going to ask you about voter integrity. We're going to ask you about the count. We're going to ask you about security. But what is our responsibility as voters?
I think your responsibility, though, is to help manage expectations. It's a new day, a 350% increase in requests for absentee ballots. There is a whole bunch of new energy around this particular election season. So I am suggesting, instead of talking about it, we have to be about the solution, be a part of the problem solving. Our clerk deserves every bit of support that all of us can give her. And I think the closer we are to the true information, the better position we are to articulate the facts. All I'm saying is don't expect election results by 8 p.m. or 10 p.m. on Tuesday night. You have every
responsibility. Secretary Benson calls it election week.
Right, yeah, and that's just basic math. I mean, around the state, we expect about 3.5 million citizens to vote absentee this year. and those ballots can't begin to be counted until election day. And so it's just not possible to get through methodically and securely that many ballots in 12 hours or 20 hours. But we do anticipate, it won't take much longer than Friday. That's sort of the longest we expect based on basic math of how many ballots per machine per hour that it would take. And we'll continue to adjust those estimates as we move closer to election day. But we're on track to have 70% of our voters vote early. And then the rest will vote in person on election day. And the reason that this is different than past years where we did get election results quite soon after the polls closed was because when the majority of people are voting in person at their precinct on election day, ballots are counted as they're voted. And so once polls close at 8 o'clock, you just print out the results and send them into the clerk. And it happens quite quickly. But when ballots begin being counted on election day, you have to open and sort and tabulate. And again, it takes time to go through that. It's basically a separate operation that happens at TCF Center here in Detroit and other parts throughout the state. And that, again, does take time. But once the polls close, we're going to continue to update you all, as Hester mentioned, about where we are in the process. And what we need from you is to get that information out. When you hear other candidates trying to claim the results or this, that, or the other, just say, no, actually, the city of Detroit, only 30% of the ballots that have been counted so far, or 70% of the ballots have been counted so far. So look to us for the content and then help us get it out. And the same thing applies for misinformation or robocalls. Help us by serving as trusted messengers to the community to ensure that they know where to go to get accurate information at a time when so many people are trying to disinform our voters and confuse and cause chaos and sow seeds of doubt.
Okay, we're getting almost close to the end of the program. Some quick hitters.
Let me tell you this, Mike.
Come on, Esther, we got it.
Yep. I just got a response from Dan Baxter. He has not heard anything about drop box being destroyed. Thank you. Right.
Got to the bottom of it.
I'm getting to the bottom of it too. I still have to take
much. On the case. So we got some quick hitters before you let you go. People who have elderly people in their families, they want to drop their ballots off for them. Can they do that? And what's the procedure?
Yes, if the voter says to someone else in their household, hey, drop this ballot off for me, that's okay. You can do that as long as the voter themselves signs the envelope that the ballot's placed in so that their identity can be confirmed. Okay.
Again, the governor just signed into law an additional 10 days. Tell us what does that mean for you?
The governor just signed a law that allows absentee ballots to be opened the day before the election, the envelopes to be opened, the signatures confirmed, and through that process actually begin the tabulation. So that should get the results in a little bit sooner, but we're still saying Friday at the latest, maybe sooner, for results on election week.
And that's just early processing, not early counting. It's just separating the ballot from the envelope, getting it into the ready position.
What time of day does the counting start?
7 a.m. on election day. Yeah, but on the day before, 10 a.m. to 8 p.m., it does now allow for early processing, separating the ballot from the envelope, getting it into the ready position to go into the high-speed tabulators as of 7 a.m. on election day.
Okay, good.
Have you guys stopped the hiccups with the military ballots that we had earlier?
Yeah, that was a bit of misreporting. What happened there was a problem in Oakland County where the local county executive race for a partial term was left off. And so Oakland County asked us to correct that. And when that was happening, someone else was working on the same ballot, and it led to kind of a programming error and a computer glitch that meant when a few clerks printed out the new updated ballot, the vice president row was sort of moved up so that all the vice president candidates were moved under the wrong presidential candidate. We fixed that within 90 minutes of finding that error. And we contacted every clerk and every voter. There were only probably about a few dozen voters, if that actually got a ballot. And we quickly gave them an updated and correct ballot. But that's an example of exactly the type of just ways in which things can extrapolate. And before you know it, I'm getting, hate messages and hate mails and death threats saying like, why don't you want military people to vote? And I'm like, my husband was in Afghanistan in 2012. Like, what are you talking about? And so it's, but yeah, that problem was fixed quite soon. No voters will be disenfranchised. And again, you know, we're continuing to work to ensure our military voters get their ballots.
We're almost out of time.
Yeah.
I filled out my ballot, I mailed it, but I want to change my vote. Can I?
Yep, just fill out in writing, let your local clerk know by Monday at 4 p.m. on election, you know, November 2nd. It's best if you just go into your clerk's office and let them know, because they can destroy your old ballot and give you a new one, and you can even just fill it out and return it right there and get it taken care of.
Okay. Frank and I, we know we talk a lot about voting. That's such a passion with both of us.
Yes.
And we're excited about the numbers. Before we go, I'd like to hear from both of you, from Hester and from you, Secretary Benson, the numbers that are coming out. What does that do for you? And you're looking at our electoral process.
Hester, you want to go first?
I'll say a couple of quick things. First of all, we have been absolutely determined to use every ounce of our power and authority as the chief elections officer. We've identified the 100 low performing precincts, and across the state, we tend to all of those communities to listen and learn and to try and stir the passion. We have, for the very first time in the history of the state of Michigan, Jocelyn and I, upon arrival, along with a dozen plus folk on our executive team, Jocelyn says, Hester, what authority do we have? How can we use our power? I am pleased to announce that for the very first time, all 8,000 to 9,000 returning citizens, every Michigan voter that leaves a Michigan prison will leave that prison with either a state identification card, a driver's license, and a voter registration card. So we've been doing our part. You know that Jocelyn, some folk got mad at her because she mailed out 4.7 million absentee ballot applications, not ballots, but applications. So we've been trying to stir the pot and use every ounce of our authority. We're doing our part. We're excited. Man, this is a wonderful time. This is like another form of high cotton. This is the stuff that I love.
Yeah, I mean, essentially, it's more people are going to vote this fall than ever before in Michigan's history. More Detroiters are going to vote this fall than ever before. And that is, it's gratifying, and it's really moving to go to a satellite clerk's office in Detroit, to see the ballot drop boxes in Southfield and be there at 9 a.m. on Monday morning while there's a steady stream of voters dropping their ballots off in Southfield on Monday, October 4th at 9 a.m.
That's amazing.
You know, it just, to see that, you know, every day about 100,000 people are voting early in our state, to be able to simply just make the system a little bit more accessible and secure and convenient, and then see voters respond to that by voting in record numbers. You know, that's what this is all about. So it's just a great time, a great month. It's not without its challenges, because anytime you get lots more people voting, you encounter, you know, the pushback that we're experiencing in lots of different forms. But that said, our job is to make sure every vote is counted, every voice is heard, and we're well on our way to that reality.
Okay, before we get out here, I know Frank wanted to say something to both of you.
So our charge at CBTU is political and voter education. So any way we can help you with voter education, we want to do it. So
Right.
reach out. We're there. We're going to make sure we educate people about voting, whether the bottom to the top.
Yes,
We're
sir.
gonna make-
Michigan.gov/vote. Yeah, all the information you need, Michigan.gov/vote. And then just let us know if we can come to additional gatherings, hold additional town halls. We've got 3.5 weeks to go. So, you know, pedal to the metal, tell us where you need. A lot of this stuff is new. We want to make sure everyone votes, ballots get in on time, you know, and everyone feels confident in the system.
No question. Lots of voter education is required. So you guys just keep doing more of what you do well. I'm going to
And
send,
let us know what you need from us. Yeah.
and he's going to be smiling. I'm going to tell him how great you guys are here in Motown.
Well, we want to thank both of you. You all have been doing a fantastic job. And of course, you got the great one, Mr. Daniel Baxter, an expert. Just drain him dry. He has so much knowledge and so much experience. And also, Frank and I and the entire board are encouraged by the partnership that you've all taken on with Kathy Garrett, with Warren Evans, with Janice Winfrey, and not just in the Detroit area, but around the state. And CBTU is committed here in the state of Michigan, but also across the country to get the vote out. So I want to thank you both for being here. And you said it, we will probably be calling you again. But
We're here. It's our job.
Don't hesitate. Thank you so
Guys,
very much.
Thank
All right,
so
thank you.
much.
Hello there,
Good to
Tanya
see
Ray.
you.
I see you. All right, thank you, Frank Woods. Thank you, Michael Joseph.
Like our new sign.
Thank you
Yeah.
all.
Like our
Thank
new
you,
sign
Frank.
back there.
See you.
Love you
Bye,
guys. Thank you so
Thank you,
much.
Secretary Benson. And before we go, everybody, our president has some things he want to talk to you about the GOTV and also phone banking.
Right. Has everyone got their email about signing up for phone banking? I know it went out. How many people, I want to know how many people actually signed up for it. And how can we count on them going forward, how we can make that happen, that virtual phone bank, CBTU. You should get another email. They've been sending them out kind of regular. Michael finally got in contact with national office about it. So hopefully we can really get that going and be something we can do in the future. I was approached by a political consultant to listen to a presentation on Saturday about how we can help out at the polls. It's called triple voting. So we will have a presentation on Saturday about that. And so I want everybody to stay tuned and actually get on the call so we can make some other things happen out in the neighborhood. That's something we can do everywhere, not just in Detroit. We can do it at every poll in the state that we're affected, that we have a CBTU chapter. So it's something that we definitely need to start actually working on for the next elections. You know, this is one cycle. We have elections. I think we have one off election year, and this ain't it. Neither is next year. So we got to make sure we're on top of it. Anything else, Michael?
Just to say thank you to everybody, and you will be able to watch us on YouTube. You can watch it rebroadcast on the CBTU Facebook page. Share with everybody, especially your family members, to let them know about the process of voting. There's so much misinformation, and that's the purpose of what CBTU wants to do, be a bridge to our community with communication to let you know the truth, and it will set you free. We ask everybody, please vote, vote, and vote.
Right. And I got some more information for Saturday, so we'll talk about it Saturday. Everybody
all right, good job.
Good job, everybody.
And everybody
Have a
else, thank
good night.
Mr. Phil Holyfield. Mr. Phil Holyfield, the man that keeps it together. Thank you, Phil.
You're welcome.
Appreciate you, man.
Good job. All right,
Good
baby.
night, everybody.
Everybody have a good night.
All right, good night.
All right, bye-bye.
Bye-bye.